Before we get out of here, obviously I've seen some comments on Twitter, on IG. Clearly, Julian is no longer with the podcast. We wish him the absolute best. Love to him. But yes, he's no longer part of the pod. Appreciate all the contributions and salute to him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's it. We'll be back 2, 3, 4 more times. Patreon.com/new Rory&Mal. See my 2025 predictions that I smoked already out.
2025. What's good, people? It's your boy The Kitchen now. After days of speculation, after days of wondering why Julian wasn't at the last recording of the new Rory&Mal podcast, we finally have an answer. And yes, that is, unfortunately, Julian is no longer part of the podcast. Now I can't lie, this wasn't just a shock to me. It was a shock to pod fans as well, because as of late, Rory&Mal, Julian and Damaris have been doing really, really well. They've been podding really, really well. They've been doing the best they've ever done. They've gone viral a handful of times over the year without it involving any sort of drama or controversy. And this didn't happen overnight, because as soon as they left Joe, they were kind of forced to pod. They were forced to find their feet. They were forced to create an organic fan base. Now, of course, they had fans left from the Joe Budden podcast, but a lot of them were there for the back and forth shots that Joe, Rory and Mal would take every couple weeks at each other. And while it was entertaining, it wasn't sustainable, especially if you want to grow your fan base and stay as drama-free as possible, because Rory, I don't think he minds being messy, especially when people throw shots at him, but it's completely different with Mal, because Mal, he doesn't really care. He doesn't really go on social media like that. He doesn't really pay attention to people that he doesn't like. And that kind of makes for a boring podcast if you're only there for entertainment and the crash outs. But fast forward to now, I feel like they're drama free. They don't really get into any kerfuffles with anybody or any other podcast. They really just stick to their niche and focus on themselves for the most part. Which is why I was so blindsided that they let Julian go. Like, why Julian? It seemed like Julian, Damaris, Rory and Mal had a really, really good thing going. So you know me, it's The Kitchen. I had to do some science. I had to do some digging. And I found some cryptic stories that Julian posted on IG. Now, this was obviously before Rory and Mal would announce that Julian has left. This was right after Rory and Mal fans would notice that Julian wasn't present at the last episode.
I have to see how things play out before I step out and say anything. You know, I can talk. I'm just being patient, and it's tough to be patient, but it's the smart thing and right thing to do. This is not a Wheezy Mandy rollout whatsoever.
Taking control of everything and betting on me, that's just me. Putting me first above everybody for once.
Now, this is very telling. And I say this because when Rory and Mal finally announced that Julian wasn't going to be on the pod anymore, it was at the very, very last minute of the pod. Quite literally. All they said was, I know you guys are wondering why Julian wasn't here last week, and that's because he's not on the pod anymore. We wish him all the best in his future endeavours. That was it. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm thinking to myself, Julian has been at this company, the Rory&Mal podcast, for 3 years, week after week. He's been on tour with them, and that was his last hurrah? That was his last send-off? So this makes me believe that something in fact definitely did happen. Now, I'm not sure what it is, but something happened. So you know me, my brain gets to working, and I'm thinking of the many scenarios that could lead up to Julian being fired or being let go in an abrupt manner. Now, me being a fan of the Rory&Mal pod, everybody knows that Julian is quite outspoken. He doesn't really hold his tongue for anything, which can also be bad for business and could very well blackball the Rory&Mal pod as a business. Another theory is that originally Damaris was the producer of the Rory&Mal pod until Julian stepped in and took her place. Now, these two want to portray to the fans that they are the best of friends, that they're brother and sister, but I don't buy that for 1 second. Because if somebody came through at my job and took my role from me right underneath my legs, I'm gonna feel away. I'm very petty. I'm not gonna let that go. I'm gonna do everything to sabotage the other person, especially if the funds are running low. Because in case you haven't noticed, podcasting is very, very expensive. There's a lot of expenses that go into podcasting, especially if you're a successful podcast. This includes going on tour. This includes obviously production. This includes the editing. This includes paying for guests, because believe it or not, some podcasts pay for people to come onto the pod. Or it just simply could be that Julian is too expensive for the Rory&Mal show. I mean, Julian has a lot of experience with obviously Dreamville, different record labels. I recall him actually saying that he did some type of production thing during COVID involving Jason Derulo. So he's worked with bigger names than Rory&Mal, so his price point may be too high for the show. So let's throw away Julian and keep Damaris, because I think Damaris is fairly new to the industry. I feel like she's just been Rory's assistant and that's it, really. I don't think she has much experience in this podcasting media field. But what do I know? Maybe I'm bugging. What do you guys think in the comments? Do you guys feel like Julian just wanted to move on and do bigger things? Do you feel like with 2025 he just wanted to focus on himself? Do you in fact believe that he was telling the truth in that little Instagram story? Let me know in the comments. Once again, it's your boy The Kitchen. Till next time, deuces.